Today we're going to talk about transphobia. So before we start this one, we kind of have to understand what transphobia actually is. By definition, transphobia is the dislike or prejudice of trans people. And prejudice is just an opinion that essentially holds no bearing. You can look both of those words up on your own. When we are experiencing transphobia, it can come in so many different ways. And so I kind of want to explore today what transphobia looks like to a trans person. This is like my little secret meditation garden tucked away in some park of Seattle. I love it. I come out here all the time, and it's a really good place to think or vlog. So let's start with the big one. Let's start with the doozy. Well, for me, my largest experience of transphobia was that of being kicked out of my place. In 2014, my stepmom got really mad at me for coming out to my little brother and essentially kicked me out. That's how I got into Seattle. It's better for me here. Something more recent and a little bit maybe more on the microaggression side of things. A couple weeks ago, I had to go to the ER to address some complications regarding my GRS surgery. Mark, my partner, came, or rather outed me to the nurse. And the nurse essentially said to me, "Wait, they do that here?" And then proceeded to ask me a couple other questions regarding my anatomy, which at the time were totally unnecessary, essentially making me feel like an outsider. So when we talk about transphobia, there is no one way that we can encompass the way that everybody feels or experiences transphobia. This video is sort of an attempt to bring to light all the ways that people can experience transphobia and maybe some advice on how best to move past it. Let's go back to the studio and hear from other people and see what they've experienced. One of my many day jobs, there's too many to list, trust me, is that I'm a voice teacher. And I teach people, trans people mostly, how to find their feminine voice or their masculine voice or their androgynous voice. I teach online, and so my students are everywhere. They are across the globe, from Asia to the UK to Georgia. I've got a couple students down that way. And I'll tell you right now that every student I teach, no matter where they are from, experiences transphobia in some way. So the number one reason why people have difficulty finding the right voice is simply due to transphobia. You see, finding and using the right voice is relatively simple, as long as you know what you're doing and you have a coach that can help you through it. It's not terribly difficult to find the right voice. But the problem isn't that. It's the fact that the external forces around you are more or less forcing you into conforming into this identity that you don't find yourself in. And so when it comes time to actually use your voice, all these people around you are providing these microaggressions, and suddenly the voice becomes really, really difficult to use. And so we have these mental hurdles that we as trans people have to get over in so many regards, whether it be for the voice or just your physical transition, or maybe a social transition as well. These microaggressions or macroaggressions come at us from all angles. And it sucks. I don't know another way to say it. It just sucks. We can't change it though, but it's going to take some time. So, in the UK, there is a waiting list that I believe is 38 months for hormones at the moment. That's over 3 years. 3 years to get hormones. That right there is an extreme case of transphobia, because this is not something that is surface level transphobia. No, this goes into politics. This goes into the medical world. This goes into the general thought of the population. 38 months to get hormones. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention. And if you're under the age of 18, you may have to restart that 38-month wait time if you turn 18 during your wait time. So it could be longer for you, depending on when you get on that list. The students that I have in Asia, most of their transphobia comes from their parents. Most of them cannot be themselves simply because it's not part of their culture. And I would say that's true for most everywhere in the world. Transphobia is not a part of anybody's culture unless you're trans or you know somebody who is trans. And that right there lies the problem. 4 days ago. What's with transphobia on the internet these days? 22 days ago. I'm a cis lesbian dating a trans woman. How do I deal with transphobia from my family and friends? 2 months ago. Will transphobia ever be socially taboo, like homophobia and racism have largely become? What are some ways you've experienced transphobia? I wonder who wrote that one. Elizabeth was screamed at on the street. She was intentionally misgendered. This person had a difficult time with the registry office. And they told them that they needed to change their name and legal gender. And so when they arrived there on Monday, they made up some stupid reason to why their doctor's letter wasn't good enough. And then they further went on to say, we need to protect this law from the cheating trans people. Transphobia is so rampant in the world at the moment. And it has to get worse before it gets better. And I think we're nearing the bottom. We haven't hit it yet though. This person had to move out of their dad's place because their family was transphobic. This person had to move out of their dad's place because their family was transphobic, and the best course of action was to move out before things got violent. This person was homeless, but ultimately decided that dealing with transphobia was better than being homeless, and then realized again that being homeless was better than dealing with transphobia. Let that one sink in. This person's father emotionally abused her. This is where I teach, and this is where I get to hear all the stories of transphobia. I had a student out in Kansas. She found her voice in a month, maybe 2 months. It was easy for her to use it, to work on it. Simple. But when it came time for her to incorporate her voice into her everyday life, she told me this: if I come out at work and I start using my voice, I'll be fired. The company that she worked for is extremely conservative. Simply put, it's just a bunch of meatheads on an assembly line. And she can't come out because of transphobia in her work environment. She's ready. She knows she is too. With the snap of her fingers, she could be full-time and passing. But because of the transphobia that she has to endure, she's not going to come out for a while. She's not going to come out until she feels safe or until she's just in a better place. Maybe she moves, maybe she finds a better job. But she can't come out without that security. Because without that security, she's better off homeless. Just like that other person over there who also experienced transphobia. Transphobia needs to stop. It's just, we have too much of it in our society right now. It's unfair and it's unfortunate that we have to go through it and we have to endure this every single day. We don't get the choice. We don't get the choice to turn off transphobia or go visit subreddits that might have non-transphobic ideas. If it's one thing I've learned from living in such an open-minded and progressive city, it's that LGBT people, and more specifically trans people, need to stick together. We are a community. We are a family. We bring each other up and we support one another. We don't have anybody else. And if you are one of the lucky ones who kept their family, who kept their friends, who kept their job, I want you to understand that you are an outlier. The amount of people that I see every single day dealing with some sort of transphobia, whether it be micro or macro, is overwhelming. Below the like button is a list of subreddits, or better known as communities, in which you can find some sort of solace in. If you are experiencing transphobia, whether it be big or small, and you're unsure what to do about it, post your story in those subreddits, ask for help if you need it, and don't be surprised if somebody offers you a couch to stay on, or maybe just an ear to vent to. If you're one of the fortunate ones who are in a much better place, share your story below in the comments as well. I would love to see a dialogue happening in this video. And I mean, if you can extend a helping hand to some of our less fortunate siblings, it would mean a lot to them and to me as well, because it wasn't by my own accord that I was able to rise up and find my footing in this wonderful city. In fact, it was an LGBT brother who took me in and let me crash on his couch. So that's all I got for you today. Please, please, please help one another out. And if you would like to subscribe to this channel, I would appreciate it a bunch. Click that like button. And if you are interested in some merch that we have, you can check that out below as well. Thank you so much. Help one another out, and I will see you in the next one.